all that said, that was my sad attempt for a drum roll. That is much better. In order to prepare for taking the GRE for the second time, I really wanted to do a lot of energy management. So what I made sure to do was just kind of get all of the details kind of planned out ahead of time. So I didn't have to really stress about what was going to go on the day of test day. So I definitely picked an outfit that made me feel awesome. And you watched my video before, it usually involves some Michigan gear. And I literally just tried to chill. I did look at some of my notes and things like that I wanted to make sure that I internalized before test day, but I didn't really do any hardcore practice. That worked for me because I really didn't want to hype myself up because it's already, that's just, the test is already something that is, I'll say exciting and venture. I read originals and there's this research that Adam Grant referenced that if you are, trying to convert your energy, your anxious energy into excitement rather than calming yourself down, then you'll have better benefits. So I went to my favorite coffee shop, I chilled out, I watched some Grey's Anatomy. It's just like my happy time. I just wanted to make sure my body was happy. Another thing I did to make sure that I didn't just put too much pressure on myself was I made myself some earrings and a necklace for test day. I know it's really random, but I love making jewelry, and I decided that, I'm going to have some special edition jewelry for test day. And if you're interested in it, it's my sister and mine's company called ML Rose and Company. We're all about helping women build their legacy, and we really want to be a part of it, even if it's a small way of, wearing a necklace on test day, which actually, full disclaimer, you're actually not allowed to wear a necklace on test day when it comes to the GRE, so I had to put my necklace in the locker, but I still got to keep on my earrings. So that's just a disclaimer. I really love sparkly jewelry. It makes me really happy. So, I try to clean my ring. I try to have some nice bling on my ears, but then, when it comes to putting your stuff away for the test, my necklace went in there as well. So I already made sure to choose a testing center that I was familiar with. So I went to the same one that I went to last year. And even though I've been there before, I went there early enough so I could make sure I knew about the facilities. I need to know. One thing I noticed when I was taking the GMAT, each testing center differs. Sometimes you need a key in order to get to the restroom. So that means you need to make sure that the receptionist is available to give you the key. So that eats away time, right? So I needed to make sure that nothing had changed. The bathroom is still where it was last time. They didn't add a lock or anything on it, so that just in case I knew how to prepare for my break. Did the same thing, and yeah, everything was pretty good. I got there early, and this time, as opposed to last time, it was pretty crowded, and it makes sense, right? Last time I took the test over in July. Not a lot of people were thinking about the GRE in July. This time, in the fall, if you are going to take the GRE in the fall, then you need to make sure that you're planning ahead, because it's going to be busy. And you know why? Because at least I can speak for business school, right? First round of business school applications are due in the fall, often in the middle of October. So you're going to have a lot of people who are doing their last chance effort to get the score that they want in order to get to their desired schools. So that's something that I noticed right off the bat. My test was supposed to be at 1:30, and I actually didn't even get to go into the room until about 2:15, which is crazy. That doesn't mean that they took time away from my test. It just meant that I had to make sure that I had plans after that I totally messed up and was totally late for, so don't make plans for after you take the test, because you just never know how the test center is going to factor into your plans. Something I noticed in the testing center is that people had like little flashcards for the vocabulary, and I thought that that was really interesting. So you want to have the comfort of looking at some words before you go into the GRE. That is fine, apparently, to do before the test, but once you are starting the test, you have to put your study materials in your locker, and you're not allowed to touch them until you're done with the test. So, you know, if you feel like you might get tempted to look at some of the study materials during one of your breaks, then I recommend you just leave that stuff in the car, because I would not want you to jeopardize your opportunity to get a score. You know, they can cancel your score, and that's not something that any of us want. So for those of you who don't know, you are able to have scratch paper. They give you this long sheet of paper that is equivalent to 4 sheets of paper and 2 pencils. The eraser's not that good, at least for the ones that I got. So just you want to make sure that you are kind of thinking about that. I actually decided to do something a little bit different. I was feeling a little anxious about forgetting some formulas, so I used the instruction time to actually jot down all of the formulas that I could remember. I'm talking about cube area, cube volume, the distance between 2 points. I was jotting down formulas for areas of circles and everything, so that I would make sure that at least had some foundational elements on the paper. So just in case I drew a blank, I could at least look down and see, okay, I have the ratio of the 30, 60, 90 triangle on my scratch paper, and that's cool. I think that's kosher because it didn't bring anything into the test center. I literally just used the time where they had instructions. I already knew the instructions. I've read them before. I've taken the test before. So I just used that as a time for brain dumping. Did that help? I'll get to that later. First section included the essays. This is standard. Unlike the GMAT, you actually don't get to choose the order that you have for the GRE, so you start with the essay. Mine first started with the issue essay, and if you're curious on what to do in order to do well in your issue essays, click here and I have a video on that. And I found that to be quite easy. I don't know, I feel like writing is just like my happy time. I used the computer to jot down my notes and an outline for what I was going to talk about, because I didn't want to use my scratch paper, mostly because I didn't want to fill up space prematurely because I had my formulas on there. So I just used the computer, and if that's something that you are comfortable with, go for it. Just make sure you delete any of the scratch notes before the time runs out so that you don't get docked for some incoherent notes on your paper. Next was the analyze the argument, and I really enjoyed that as well. And the reason why I enjoyed it is because I followed my own advice to a T. So if you haven't seen my video on how to prepare for the argument essay and get a 6, click up here because I have that for you. And trust me, I break it down literally by paragraph and by sentence, so that when it comes to test day, it's just like, all right, boom, 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 let's go. So I felt really good. And unlike last time, I actually saved about a minute and a half for me to look through my essay, proofread, and finish them. So I feel really great about the fact that I definitely feel like I improved my score compared to my first attempt. So that's something I'm really proud of. The scores aren't out just yet, but I'm feeling really good about it. At this time, it's like, all right, here we go, right? My first section was the quant section. And I think that in general, I just learned that math gives me anxiety. Not many things give me anxiety, but math is one of them. I just found myself in this position where it's just like, I have these formulas, but there's this shape here that gives me nothing. And I'm just like, okay. And I definitely found some moments where I was just like, I felt like I could solve it, but at the same time was running out and I was kind of freaking out. So I have to say that, like, the way I was going, I was just like, all right, I need to make sure that I can recover. And that is really, if you get nothing from this video, or if you don't watch into the end, I just want you to remember that it's so important to focus on recovery. Do not dwell on the fact that you feel like you did poorly on the last question, because you have to do the next question, and you have to make sure you keep a track of the time so that you can ensure that you have enough time to go through the rest of the questions. I highly recommend, if you are at a point where you're, trying to guess or don't know what to do, rather, then guess, put an answer down, mark it for review, and move on, because ideally you're going to have time to get to review some of the questions. And if you don't, then thank goodness you at least have an answer down, because you're not going to get penalized extra points for a wrong answer. It's just wrong. So that's just a tip from me to you. Verbal, I felt fine. Verbal, if you've known, that is my strong suit. I felt like there are some words I didn't know, but in general, I felt like the vocabulary is just much easier than what I end up studying. So then I'm just like, okay, but I mean, that's just the mechanics of the first section. The way the GRE works is that the first section is used to kind of baseline where you're at. So it's really important to do well in your first section, because that's going to determine the level of difficulty for your next section. So if you do very well in your first section, then your next section is going to be more difficult. And that's definitely what happened for my test. I could definitely notice the difficulty. So I know for sure, I knew that I did well in my verbal because my next section was more difficult and more challenging. So I was just like, all right, cool. And the second, for the math, I mean, I don't know. I think no matter what, it's going to be generally difficult because it's just not how I naturally think. But I mean, what I will say is that I'll take a step back. I received 2 verbal sections and 3 quant sections, which meant that one of them was the experimental section that did not count. And I actually had to tell you, I was very excited to see the 3rd section, because I was like, God, well, that means that one of these math sections doesn't count. I don't know which one didn't count. I could have just done poorly on the section that counted, and the last one could have been the experimental, because I definitely felt like I did better on the last section than I did on the second quant section. But hey, whatever. You know what? Again, you can't dwell on it. You just got to keep going and try to do your best on what you have. I think I did run out of time on one of the quant sections, so that's something that I just had to really be mindful of. I do need to work on pacing. I've seen some content on, ideas on how you're supposed to be pacing your questions. And for me, honestly, I just kind of get slipped up. Like, you technically have 1 minute and 45 seconds for each question. And sometimes I worry that if you solve it in 20 seconds, then that might be too fast. I just need to have more confidence when it comes to the quant section, because I've come so far. You don't even understand. Like, the fact that I'm able to talk to you about how to find the area of a slice of a circle it really does mean that there's been tremendous growth during this GRE journey. I just need to make sure that it consistently translates on test day. So, all that said, that was my sad attempt for a drum roll. That is much better. My verbal score is still in the 160s. So I'm actually at the point now where I'm just like very comfortable with that. So it's just like, okay. It dipped like 1 point, but at the same time, like, that's fine because I'm still above the 90th percentile in verbal. The quant, I'm happy to report that I did raise the score. Yay! I did, but not enough. I raised my score about 2 points, so I did cross the 50th percentile barrier, but I need to try again. Yeah, to answer that question, do I take this test for fun? No, but I'm just driven, and I just really want to be real and let you all know that maybe you might not get what you need on your first try. If I'm honest about my performance, I know that I wasn't as consistent as I needed to be, and I know that I prioritized things like work, like sleep, and, time with my husband over studying. Is that bad? No, it's not bad because those are choices that I own. But I will say that if I'm going to really try to do this, I'm going to need to drop some things. Netflix will probably be the number one thing to cut. There's definitely some slack in my schedule that I can actually start cutting so that I can try at least one more time to get something a little bit higher. I feel close. I feel capable of doing it. And let this just be inspiration for you, because I'm not going to be like one of these, influencers of sorts that just say, oh yeah, all I did was study for 12 days and I got a 164 in Quant. Like, no, when I am victorious, it's going to be because I worked my butt up, and you will get to see that every step of the way. So if you have any tips for me on how to kind of overcome my Quant plateau, put them in the comments below. If you have any questions and want me to address anything about test day, also put them in the comments below. I'm so excited that you're joining me on this journey because it really helps inspire me. And I just thank you for letting me just play a small part in making. And I just want to thank you for just letting me make a tiny, tiny contribution towards your success story. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so now. If I can make it to 1,000 let's make this something of let's grow this community. This is something that I'm really proud of, and I am really thankful that you are here with me along the journey. I'll see you next time.